Okay, sorry, I am late. I had the wrong link. Hello, sorry, there was a network problem. Are you able to see me, hear me properly, all of you? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll be starting with new paper, April 2024 IFOA. Okay. So I know it was very short notice, but any of you who have read the scenario material or have come prepared for that past paper, any sample answer, any of you?
Ma'am, but
Because
last paper is still incomplete. We haven't completed the last paper which we were solving.
which paper was that?
September 24.
Okay, but I was given this information that on CP2, September 24 was incomplete, and for CP3, I have to start a new chapter, new paper, which is April 2024.
Ma'am, because as far as I remember, we were discussing CP3 ka September 24 paper, and ma'am had asked us to write the aims, and we were going to discuss it today, in the next lecture.
Okay, so maybe ma'am must have told me to start a new paper because she wants to take that class herself. That might be the plan. I will just double check with her. So, is it okay if we start a new paper today?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. So it's April 24. Any of you who have started it, read it, anything that you've done on that paper? I know it was short notice. I don't expect you to, but anybody who had the time to, who has read the scenario material?
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, no worries. I will share my screen. Let me know once that is visible. So, yeah, this is the CP3 scenario material that we have. Okay. So I will just go through this very briefly and then we will start discussing the solution for this. Any doubts you have while I'm reading and explaining, you can just unmute and ask, okay? Because there are very few people. So we can just unmute and ask each other questions and all our doubts. So see, this is EBDS, Everyday Building Design Solutions. Okay, it is a company and it operates in country X. What does this company do? They employ architects and they started their business in 2015. And at that particular time only, there was this employee benefit scheme that they started. Okay. What all details do you have available in this particular scenario material with you? Is this first extract from the annual government report for country X for 2023, which is 8 years after the company started. Okay. You have details of the benefit scheme that they are operating. You have the membership data for that scheme. You have the benefit statements. What benefits are they going to get under this scheme? And you have the discussion by the recent trustee at this particular date. Okay. So this information has been provided to you. Now let's read the first piece of information that we have, which is this. Extract of the annual government bulletin for 23 published January 24. So this was published in 24, but this data is for 23. This is the economic conditions and outlook. So what does the economic outlook look like for country X? It is bleak in the short to medium term, which means it is not very good. Okay. The country is experiencing cost push inflation. I think you must have read this from your previous papers. Cost push inflation is anybody?
Increase in the prices of goods because of increase in the cost of production.
Right. So the cost is pushed, it is pushed upwards, cost increases, and that is why prices increase in the economy. Okay. And again, there are various fiscal measures that the government has taken, but still this inflation is a key concern in the economy. It has not been sorted out. Okay. Details of the historic rates is given in this table, and this is actual annual percentage inflation figures for 12 months ending March, June, September, December. Okay. These are the 5-year data that has been given to you. So what is the pattern that you observe from this table? With increase in year, inflation is
Increasing.
in every month increasing. And in one particular year also, as you move towards the end of the year, inflation is again increasing, both horizontally and vertically. Inflation keeps on increasing. And there is a forecast that it will exceed 10% within the next 6 months. Okay. So again, a bad news for the country. Why is this happening? Why is there so much inflation in the economy? This is by a high trade deficit, which means what is a trade deficit? Relating to export import. How will you get a trade deficit? Correct. More imports and less exports. So you're paying out of your country more, and the money that you're receiving is very less. So there's a deficit that is created because of trade. Okay. So why is this also happening again? That there are various conflicts between different countries. Country X is not directly involved in it, but those conflicts are creating difficulties in importing goods, and there are severe restrictions in energy supplies. Okay. So there are various restrictions for the open economy in the country X due to conflicts between various nations. So now domestically also there is problem. That was an international issue that was causing a deficit. Domestically, what is happening that there are droughts. So because of that, no rainfall, no water, so poor crops. So when crops are not good enough, there will be shortage of food in the country, and that is why the cost of food will rise. So again, inflation, and food is a necessity. It is a necessary good. So price is increasing for that also. And one more reason is climate. So record-breaking summer temperatures, too much heat, leading to droughts maybe in 23, and similarly winters are also severe. So there are extreme weather conditions prevailing in the country. And these extremes are attributed by the government to climate change. We all know this. And this will persist unless and until we do some major steps we take to take this climate change into account. Now, the government is working hard so that they can find some solutions to sustain domestic food production, which means that the food that they are producing domestically is enough to sustain the entire population of the country. What is one way that they can do this? They can offer subsidies to the farmers. They are doing that. Okay. Now, the average annual earnings inflation figure at 30th December was 7%. This means that real disposable income is falling. How does this mean that disposable income is falling? Anybody relate this 7% to the data given here? This is the earning figure, 7%, and this is the inflation figure in this table. For 2023, you have to see. How do you tell that the disposable income is falling with this two data, 7% and this entire figure for March, June, September, and December? Simple enough. This is 7%, which is the earnings inflation figure, which means the rate at which people's earnings are increasing. And this is the rate at which inflation is persistent in the economy. So most of the times it is more than 7%. From June, September, December, only till March it was less than 7%. So when your earnings is not increasing at the same rate at which the prices in the economy are, your disposable income will fall. Because earlier maybe you will be able to buy one chocolate for 10 rupees. Now if you have 10 rupees, you may not be able to buy one chocolate because that chocolate now costs 20 rupees. So you can only buy half a chocolate from that rupee. So your disposable income fell. Understood? Any doubts till here? Anybody? Okay. So done till here. Now again, this disposable income is falling, causing hardship for some sectors of the population. Now government spending. What is government doing for the people of its country. It is providing pensions and it is also providing healthcare. Okay. It is providing state pension, but this is means tested. Do you know what means tested benefits are? This is a common topic for, I think, every country. Any benefit they provide is means tested. What does that mean? Means tested benefits. Okay, so those benefits are for people who deserve or who are in need of those benefits. So suppose for example, if the government is providing a pension of maybe 100 per week, so it will only provide that pension to people who are actually in need of that money. So it will not go and provide this pension to a millionaire. It will not go to Ambani and provide that pension. So there is a limit. And what is this limit here? There is electricity issue. I'm just turning off my camera for a minute. Okay. So if you see here, this is means tested $100 per week, payable from age 60. This will be payable to which family? Any family with total assets of less than $100,000 will qualify for a state pension. And the state pension is 100 per week, payable from age 60 because this is the retirement age, right? And it is the same since 2020. So inflation is rising, but this 100 per week value is not increasing since past 4 years, if we are at 2024 right now. Okay. Now they are committed to the philosophy that individuals should be self-sufficient in retirement. So why is this level not increasing since 2020? They have given some kind of justification for that the state wants all of the people to be self-sufficient and not dependent on this state pension provided. Okay? They want everyone to save for their retirement. That is why any employer has to compulsorily, all the people should participate in that pension scheme of the employee. It is compulsory. You cannot opt out of that pension scheme, so that automatically you are saving for your retirement. And people who are not working for somebody else, who are self-employed, they should have a personal pension saving arrangement, which means that they should personally take up a pension saving policy from a company, from a pension company. Okay. So this is the regulation in that country. Now there are healthcare benefits also that the company is providing. There is a pressure on the company. There is a pressure to widen the provision of state-funded healthcare. So this pressure is on government. This pressure is on government to increase the benefits they are providing for healthcare. But even though this pressure exists, they are only providing free state emergency hospital care, nothing else. So this is provided by the government. There is an efficient and well-established market supplying private medical insurance. So private medical market is good in the country and people can take up their own policies, healthcare policies, okay, health insurance for their family and themselves. So this is the first part of the information that we have. Any doubts till here? Otherwise, we'll start part 2, which is the details of the scheme that is there. It's a defined contribution scheme. Anybody who knows what a DC scheme is? Defined contribution?
Fund value is limited, so the longevity risk or the expense risk or the poor investment risk, all of that is with a pension fund member who will receive the benefits. Not
Okay, so the risk is not with the employer, but the employee, which is who's the member of the scheme. And in DC scheme, what is happening? That the contributions are paid by both the employer and the employee. Both of them are contributing towards the saving or the fund that is saved for the retirement. So this is the DC scheme as compared to the defined benefit scheme, where the benefit that you will get on retirement is fixed. That does not change. But in a DC scheme, the benefit that you will get on retirement depends on the contributions that you make up to retirement, and that is dependent on your salary. Okay. So there is a DC scheme in place. Employees are automatically enrolled in because it is compulsory to join the scheme. Now there are 2 tiers in this scheme. One is a standard tier and one is a low tier. Okay, so you can choose between these. Automatically, you will be placed in this. But if you request, you can move to the low tier. Now, this is again a government scheme or a way of government so that they can basically compel people in a way to save more for their retirement, because we as individuals or humans are very lazy, especially in matters that involve a lot of paperwork, government, websites, etc. So they are automatically enrolling people onto the standard scheme. Now, if you don't want to pay so much contributions, you have to opt out and move to the low tier, for which you will have to take an initiative, maybe go to the office or visit the online website, put an application. But as I think individuals, we all know that maybe we will delay, okay, I'll do it later, or it is a lot of hard work, let it be, let the money go, it is anyway getting saved, so I'll just take it down later. So this is a way of the government to place everyone automatically into the standard tier. And if you have to move to the low tier, you will have to take an initiative. Okay. So this is what is happening initially. Now both employer and employee will contribute, as I said. And again, there is a choice in the fund that the money will go in. So there are two choices of unit linked funds. Okay. One fund may be used at any time. So there is no option of you investing your money in both the funds together. Only one fund you can choose at a time, but you can switch between the funds whenever you want to. Okay. If you leave your service before retiring, before age 60, this pension fund must have to be transferred somewhere else. This can be to your new employer if you are switching jobs, or if you're quitting working altogether, then you have to take a personal pension as stated, because it is compulsory to have a pension arrangement as per the regulation in the country. Now, what are the contributions as per the tiers? So one is standard tier, one is low tier. Employee will pay 5% in a standard tier and employer will pay 7.5%. In low tier, both employee and employer will pay 2.5% each. Okay. And this is a percentage of your basic salary. Okay. Now, what are the investment options and charges? Balanced, there are two funds that you can invest in, either the balanced ethical fund or the adventurous fund. Okay. AMC for ethical fund is low, adventurous fund it is high. Because adventurous fund, as the name suggests, might give you more returns because it is adventurous. It is maybe exploring into new areas of investment, taking on more risk, and that is why higher AMC and an expectation of higher returns. Okay. Plan fee per month, again, this fee is higher for adventurous fund and low for ethical fund. All the charges and all the fees are fixed. This will not increase with inflation. Okay. And on switching funds, there are no charges. And when you are transferring also, there are no charges. So these are the only two charges, AMC and plan fee. What are the additional benefits that the company is providing? Death in service life cover. They are giving this. So what is the death benefit that will be provided? It will be a multiple of total earnings in the 12 months up to date of death. So if a person is dying today, 12 months prior to this will be their total earnings, calculated, summed up. And if they are in a standard tier, it will be multiplied by 3. And if they are in low tier, that sum will only be given because it will be multiplied by 1. This cost will entirely be borne by the employer. Okay. Any doubts till here, anybody? I hope everything's clear. Okay. So now, medical underwriting. So this is a healthcare option that they are providing. So there will be some underwriting involved. But this medical underwriting will only apply when a member of the low tier opts to rejoin the standard tier, where the death benefit is 3 times your salary and not only your salary, which is a multiple of 1. So it makes sense that you are applying medical underwriting here, because it may so happen that one person who is in a low tier is suddenly diagnosed with a critical illness, and they know, the doctors might have suggested, that they may not live long enough. So now, because of that particular case or diagnosis that they have just been known of, they are requesting to move to the standard tier so that the death benefit increases manifold. So makes sense to put a medical underwriting here when a person is requesting to switch from low to standard tier, so that this anti-selection risk is removed. Understood? Why are we applying medical underwriting here? Okay. So this means that the member will be required to have some level of medical assessment on rejoining the standard tier. Again, the cost of this assessment will be paid for by employer. Now, again, whatever tests they are taking, this level of assessment will be varying according to the salary. Because if salary is more, death benefit will be more because it will be a multiple of that, 3 times the salary. So if the salary is more than $80,000, then you have to undergo a physical assessment. But if it is less than 80,000, then the risk is less because the death benefit is less. So it will only be a written medical report based on your past treatment. So 2 types of assessment based on your salary. And whatever result is there of the assessment, if you have applied to switch to the standard tier, but your assessment results are very poor, then what will happen? That this death in service cover will remain only at the low tier member. So even if you are wishing to switch to the standard tier, they will allow you to, which means that your contributions and the employer contributions will increase. But your death benefit cover will remain a multiple of 1 only and not a multiple of 3 because your results were poor. Your health is not in a good condition. Understood? Any doubts, anybody? Okay. The cost again will be paid for by the employer of all the assessment and of all the death benefit cover. Now, on death in service, the member's pension fund will also be available to the spouse, husband or wife, or other member nominated as a financially dependent relative. So, in case anybody does not have a husband or wife, in that case, maybe their children will be a dependent person to whom the pension will be provided if the person dies during service. Okay. Now, another benefit that they are providing is healthcare benefits. So, they pay for the private medical insurance of their employees. Employer pays for it. And this is only for the standard tier people. So, if you are in low tier, there will be no healthcare provisions for you. Okay. Now, this benefit will ceases when you transfer to low tier from standard tier. Okay. And when you first join the standard tier, so if you have just joined this company and you opt for standard tier, which is automatically, you cannot opt, there is no choice, automatically standard tier you will be enrolled in, there will be no medical underwriting, regardless of whatever is your salary level. Okay? An excess of 50 applies to each claim. What is this excess? Must have read insurance policy mein, what is this excess? Policy excess?
Only the claims which are above $50 will be entertained, and any claim which are made will be deducted of $50.
So this 50, initial 50 will be paid for by the person who is making the claim, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this 50 you'll have to pay if you are making the claim. Now, if you rejoin the standard tier from the low tier, you will again be subject to medical underwriting for the same reasons as above to avoid anti-selection risk. This again will be a medical examination for which the employer will pay, and the excess level will increase to $100. So first $100 you will have to pay for the claim that you are requesting for. Okay. And any pre-existing medical conditions highlighted in the examination. So if this medical examination highlights that maybe somebody is a patient of a critical illness, so the policy that they will give to them will clearly state that any expenses that will be incurred in relation to this particular illness will not be borne by the insurance company. So that will be excluded from the cover. Premium will still be paid by the employer. Okay. Now we have retirement options. Normal retirement age is 60. Latest you can retire is at age 70. Okay. And whenever you are retiring, the members will enter into a drawdown arrangement, which means that you have the freedom that you can take any amount from your pension pot at any particular point of time. And you can do so until and unless your fund is exhausted, which means no money is left in your pension pot. You can do that. Okay. So this is done. Now we have the membership data for the scheme. This is taken from the valuation of the scheme at this particular valuation date. There are 3571 members in the scheme, and the age distribution is not expected to change significantly in the future. So these are the age bands. So for example, in the age band of 18 to 25, these many people are there. 3 plus 285 plus 18, right? In the age band of 26 to 35, these many people are there. So which age band do you think has the most number of people? These inferences or analysis
Standard
you
tier.
should do. Sorry,
Standard tier.
no. Standard tier is fine. I'm asking which age band has the highest number of members. Age band.
36 to 45.
Okay. So this is the age band with the highest number of members, right? So if you can say that an average of age 40 are the most. So basically, if you have 1,000 employees, maybe more than 50% of the employees are around age 40. Just an example of the inference that you draw from this table. And of course, as you said, if you compare standard tier and low tier, there are more people in standard tier as compared to low tier as of now, right? So this is done. This table is done. These conclusions from the table you should draw when you are reading the scenario material because this will help you write your paper. And this scenario material you will get prior to your exam date. So you can spend as much time as you want. Make any inference from the numerical data that is given to you. Maybe calculate some percentages or summarize your data in a manner it is more understandable. So you can do this, all of this prior to your exam date. It will help you a lot when you are drafting your paper. Okay. So this is done. Now the first request to move to the low tier from the standard tier was actioned in 2019. And these requests number is been increasing sharply. More and more people want to shift to the low tier. Why do you think they want to shift to the low tier? Because of rising inflation. They want more and more money for themselves. Because it is very difficult to sustain at present given the high cost, high prices. Okay, so the average length of time in the low tier, so duration for which a person stays in the low tier, currently it is 13 months. And there was a survey conducted for all the members who are currently in the low tier in October 22 to ask them that how long do you expect to remain in the low tier? And out of all the members in the low tier, 71.3% people said that they don't want to or they don't expect to change this low tier to standard tier before they retire. So for the entire time till their retirement, they will remain in low tier. Okay. Now again, we have two investment choices, balanced, ethical, and adventurous. So there is a split given. So more people are in the ethical fund and less people in the adventurous fund. I'm not sure of this labeling. As for this, I think adventurous is more. This color. And this is a darker color. So this is balanced ethical. So you can go with, but they have written it this side. So it is confusing if this is balanced ethical. But if you go with the color, adventurous is 53.7%, balanced ethical is 46.3%. Okay. So people are preferring adventurous more than balanced ethical. Of the overall fund size by value, 51.75% is invested in the balanced ethical fund. Now, again, there is a confusion here, which I stated previously. Whatever fund size you have in value, more than 50% of it is invested in the balanced ethical fund, 51.75%. So if the scheme has assets of $100 million, 51.75% of that $100 million is invested in the balanced ethical fund. So this should ideally mean that more people are invested in the balanced ethical fund. So this should denote balanced ethical and this should denote adventurous, right? But the colors here are opposite. So what do you think is correct as per this statement? Yes, people are leaving. Only two people left. There were four people at the start. Are you not able to understand? Only Devansh is replying. Janvi, are you there in class? Are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there in the
Okay.
class and understanding as well.
Okay. So what do you think here is the correct one? Do you have more percentage of investment choice in balanced ethical or adventurous? As per this line. No idea, both of you. Did you understand what is the confusion? Were you able to understand that part? Okay. So for now, what we should assume, as per me, I don't know because you are not replying, what do you think? But as per me, if the fund size by value has a higher proportion invested in ethical, then this proportion should be of balanced ethical and 46% should be of adventurous and not vice versa as it is mentioned by the colors. Okay, so assuming that more people are choosing ethical as compared to adventurous as of now. Now we have the benefit statement. So every year on 1st March, members receive a statement that contains their personal details and relevant salary and earnings data. So every person enrolled in the scheme will receive a statement that will have all of this information and will show what is your current investment choice, what is the amount that is currently in your pension fund, and what is the projected amount of your pension fund at retirement age 60 only. So this statement will show how much money you will have when you retire at age 60 only. This means that you have an option of retiring at age 65, at age 70. But as per regulations, the statement will only take into account the amount that you will receive when you retire at age 60. No projections will be involved at any other age as of now in this statement that you receive every 1st March. Okay. This is a deterministic projection. Now you all know what deterministic and stochastic is? Familiar with the two words? Okay. So again, one more tip, whenever you are reading the scenario material, do you think this deterministic projection is a jargon? Because not everybody will understand what deterministic and stochastic is. Right? So you can make it a habit that whenever you are reading the scenario material, anything that you read and you think can be a jargon, you can highlight. So if you make that a habit of highlighting the words that you think is a jargon, it will really help you in forming the answers of part 2, which is where they ask you what a jargon, what are the jargons, and what are the words that you have excluded from your paper. If you don't do this, you will take a lot of time in reading the material again to find out the jargon. So if you make it a habit that as and when you are reading, anything you find as a jargon, you highlight so that you don't have to read the entire thing again. And also you will receive this material prior, so you can always highlight and make a list of jargons prior. Okay? So this is a deterministic projection which allows for future salary growth. So of course, any person in a particular company will see increase in their salary every year. Increments will be provided. So the projections will take into account the salary growth and all the charges. So there were two charges, AMC and policy fees. So this will be taken into account. Also, there are assumptions when you are showing any projection to anybody. What are the assumptions here? There will be no change in membership tier or change of investment fund. So when they are showing what amount of money you will get at age 60, they are not assuming that you will change your tier. So if you are in standard tier currently, they will show your projection in a manner that you remain in standard tier till age 60. And there is no change of investment fund also. So if you are in ethical fund, you remain in ethical fund till age 60. Okay? This is constant. This they will not change when they are projecting your fund value at age 60. What will change is the economic assumption. They review this annually. And if there are any changes required, they will do that. Okay. Now the projected funds are rounded down. Okay. Rounded down to thousands when included in the benefit statement. Rounded down to thousands. So suppose if the fund value is 1,500 something, it will be rounded down to 1,000 in the benefit statement. This is in favor of the company because they will not want to show you very optimistic results, because if the fund value at age 60 is lower than what they showed you in this statement that they send you every March, you will be disappointed. So that is why rounding down. And it also contains the level of death in service life cover, whatever you are going to get, but no reference to health benefits. So this statement does not say anything about the health benefits. It tells you about your fund value at age 60, depending on your current situation and whatever death and service cover you're going to get. Okay. Now, when you are receiving the statement for 2024, these are the economic assumptions on which it is based. So they are assuming that growth rate is 7% of salary and the two fund grows by this many percentage. So of course, adventurous fund higher rate of growth, balanced ethical fund slightly lower rate of growth. Reasonable, everything is fine till here. We are reaching the end of scenario material. This is the last piece of information that we have. So this is the trustee discussion that happened on 7th March 2024. Trustees met following the publication of annual benefit statements. So once the annual benefit statements were published, all of the trustees met and the HRD, Human Resources Director, who is also chairman of Board of Trustees, noted that number of employees requesting a transfer to the low tier was the highest because of the following reasons, which is inflation, less disposable income, right? And transfers are action. So what is happening that whenever me as a member is requesting the company to transfer me to the low tier, they are immediately actioned on receipt of the request. So as I requested, they will immediately transfer me to the low tier. The trustees are now requesting the advising actuary to perform some additional calculations to allow the trustees to understand the impact on the average member of moving between tiers. So if you move from standard to low tier, what will be the impact on your fund value? Because that is the concern here, that will you have enough money to sustain your retirement life? The examples show the impact on the projected retirement fund on the member. So there are examples given to you that will show what will happen to your fund as a member if you switch immediately into the low tier for a period of 12 months, which means that I'm deciding that I will shift to low tier for 1 year and then I will return back to standard tier. So I will remain in low tier for only 1 year. Second situation is when you remain in low tier until your retirement. You don't switch back to the standard tier. Okay, now again, these projections will have some assumptions, which is assuming that a person has a salary of 25,000 and their existing fund value is $10,000. What will happen from here on to their fund value if they choose this case 1 or case 2? Okay. All other assumptions as per the 24 basis, which was growth rate, salary growth rate, and the fund growth rates. So those will not change. Now, these are the projections. Fund value at normal retirement age of 60. So again, retirement age, they are considering 60 only. For person invested in balanced ethical fund. So two scenarios, number of future years in low tier, 0. Number of future years in low tier, 1. Number of future years in low tier, all. So 3 cases. First case is when you do not shift to the low tier at all. You remain in the standard tier till retirement. Second case is till retirement, for 1 year you shifted to the low tier. All is once you shifted to the low tier, you remained in the low tier till retirement. So if you see at age 40, 45, 50, 55, they have taken 4 ages and showed projections of the fund value. So if you compare this and this, not much difference in first and second values everywhere. So what does this say? That if you shift to the low tier for only 1 year, not much change to your fund value, right? Slight changes. But if you remain in the low tier entirely, then it will reduce drastically from 176 to 79. So more than half reduced. So major reduction in fund value if you remain in low tier, and this might not be sufficient to sustain your retirement life. Understood this table? Similar table for the adventurous fund is given. And same conclusions you can draw that the changes from this to this is not much. But when you remain in the low tier, it is very high. Drastic changes, very low fund values. This is the scenario material. Any doubts in here? Understood, everybody? If yes, we'll go to the question paper. Yes, no, thumbs up. Okay, projection part, Devansh. This table, these two tables. Okay. So, see, what is happening is they are telling you, I am a trustee of the company. And suppose you are the actuary. So, I am telling you that you tell me, given me cases, what will happen to a member's pension pot if they shift to the low tier. So, they want to understand the impact on the fund value if a member shifts to the low tier. Now, we are taking three cases. First is show me what will be the fund value if the person remains in the standard tier forever. So this is the first case. So their number of future years in the low tier will be zero, which means they are not in the low tier ever in their life. So zero number of years in low tier. So you show me the fund value at age 40, 45, 50, and 55 when they do not shift to the low tier at all. So these are the fund values, right? Now, second case is what will be the fund value if a member shifts to the low tier for only 1 year and then shifts back to the standard tier. So these are the fund values, second row. If you compare the first and second row, there is not much difference between the two, right? Not much difference between the two. Maybe 3,000 difference here, 3,000 difference here, 2,000 difference here, rounding off. So not much difference in the final fund value if you are just shifting for only 1 year. Understood till here? But if you are shifting to the low tier and you remain in the low tier till your retirement, this is your fund value. This is your fund value at 45, at 50, at 55. Do you think it has drastically reduced from 1,76,000 to 79,000? It has almost reduced to half of what it should have been if you were in the standard tier. Yes? So this is the projection that you as an actuary have provided me to the trustee so that I am able to understand the impact of moving to a low tier for a member. And this is done twice, once for the ethical fund and again once for the adventurous fund. Understood? Both the tables. This table is also giving you same thing that when you remain in the standard tier forever and as compared to moving to the low tier only for 1 year, difference is not much. But if you don't move back to the standard tier, your fund value will be half of what it should have been. Same conclusion from both the tables. Okay. So this is the end of the scenario material. Now let's move ahead and find the question paper, CP3 exam paper, this question paper. So this is the question paper that they've given. Let's read what they want from us. We'll do the first part. So you have been given this paper and what they are assuming your position to be that you are the advising actuary to the benefit scheme. Okay. And there is this regulator in the country who has published this statement. There is a regulatory update, duty of care to pension scheme members. So us as trustees of pension scheme, we have a duty to care about the pension scheme members. Our current regulations mean that pension scheme members are provided with an annual statement of benefits. So current regulations ke according what is happening, that all the pension scheme members are going to get a statement of benefits on every 1st March. We read in the scenario material. That will assume that they will continue to pay in their respective arrangement. So their tier will not change and their choice of fund will not change. These things we have read. This is the current scenario. Now, some schemes have flexibility in the level of contributions that the member and the employer will make. As in switching between tiers, so your contribution level changes. This is a flexibility that has been provided. So it's important that members are made aware of the implication, which means the impact of any changes they request. So impact of switching to the low tier, either temporarily, which means only for 1 year maybe, or on a permanent basis, remaining in the low tier till retirement. So how will this adversely affect your financial future because your pension pot will reduce a lot? And examples can include reducing the level of contributions or reducing other benefits such as medical or dental cover. So again, there are various implications that will happen if you switch to the low tier. What are the implications? Can you tell me? Because we have read the scenario material. So first thing is when you switch from standard to low, the contributions will decrease from 7.5 to 5%, 2.5% for employer and employee, right? This will happen. Contribution will decrease. What else is an implication of moving to the low tier? When we talk about other benefits, which was death in benefit and healthcare, what was the drawback of low tier? For death benefit and death cover will reduce and there will be no healthcare benefit provided at all. This is first implication. Second thing, when you move back to standard tier from the low tier, there are again certain implications. Will you be treated the same as a person who has always been in the standard tier if you switch back? Yes, there will be medical underwriting. And if you are diagnosed with a critical illness, then what will happen? That your death benefit will cover will only be a multiple of 1 and not a multiple of 3, even when you are in standard tier because of the medical underwriting poor results. And the policy excess will increase from 50 to 100. So this is the impact on death benefit, and the health benefit your excess will increase, and again there will be underwriting, and any existing conditions that you have will be excluded from the medical cover as well. So there are implications in two cases, moving to the low tier. Implications when you are moving back to the standard tier from the low tier. Understood all the implications? Reading ahead. This is done. So we are concerned that there's been an increase in pension scheme members reducing their contributions because they are not maybe fully aware of the full consequences of their actions. We strongly encourage schemes to increase the transparency of these implications by reminding those that would be affected in a timely manner. So it may so happen that me as a member switching to the low tier, and I have a plan that I will switch back to the standard tier after 1 year. And I think that, okay, for 1 year I am in need of money, so it's okay, I'll switch to the low tier and I'll move back to the standard tier, doesn't matter. But maybe I don't know, I'm not fully aware of the conditions that will be placed on me after 1 year, which is medical underwriting, increased in policy excess, and reduction in death benefit cover if there is a diagnosis that states that I'm in poor health. So if I was aware of all of these conditions that will be put on me after 1 year, maybe I would not have decided to switch to the low tier. For 1 year also, I would have managed from somewhere else. So this regulation publication is just saying that you should be very transparent about all the conditions with your members so that they can make an informed and a good decision. They also say that scheme, us as a pension scheme, we do not directly offer advice. So if you want to shift to the low tier, I am nobody to advise you to not do that. I cannot tell you, I cannot advise you that no, please don't shift to the low tier. Please be in the standard tier only. Me as a pension scheme member or trustee, towards the member, I have this responsibility that I just tell them all the implications, all the impacts of switching between tiers. I cannot advise you. This is the main thing that they are saying. I am encouraging the members to always seek independent advice. Of course, I cannot advise you, but I am encouraging you that please hire an independent financial advisor to make these decisions for you if you are not aware of the financial implications. If you are not that much knowledgeable, or if you do not have the time to make such decisions. Okay? We do not intend to change our regulations regarding the preparation of annual statements. So the preparation of annual statement, which is every March, based on certain conditions that are reviewed every year, and based on conditions that the age will be 60, the type of fund and the tier will remain same till retirement. Anything is not changing. Okay? Till here is done. Now, you as an advising actuary have met with the trustees on 21st March 2024 to discuss the operation of the pension scheme in light of the regulatory update. So now this regulatory update has come. You are the advising actuary and you are meeting the trustees to discuss that as per this update, what is the position of our scheme? Are we in compliance of this update? So the trustees wish to continue to support members and there are no changes to the benefits that are planned. Okay. The trustees have highlighted that there is an article in the Daily Communicator and other social media posts in recent months highlighting the option of reducing contributions as a means of dealing with cost of living today. So today, social media, internet is very popular, and anything that is happening globally or in your environment, in your particular situation, there is something or the other that will come in social media about. Sorry, there was a network problem. Actually, there is a lot of electricity issues here. There's a power out. Can you see me? Am I visible again? Okay. So, what were we discussing? Yes. So, there are posts, social media posts now that tell you that because your income is decreasing, to cope with this situation and maybe increase your income so that you can afford to sustain in this increasing inflation environment, you can reduce your pension contributions. Okay. So, this is what is being suggested now. Oh, this is scenario material. I want the question paper. Okay, so this is an article that says that you can reduce contributions so that you can deal with the cost of living. Now, the members, the pension scheme trustees are concerned that some of their pension scheme members will consider this particular article or these posts in social media as advice. This is something that we all do. Whatever we see on social media, we believe it to be true. We take it very seriously. We take it as advice. So, a very funny thing that will happen is there is this debate going on currently on social media that whether you should or you should not use air fryer. Some people will say that it has cancer causing chemicals. Some people will say that it is better than using a stove to fry your food items in boiling oil. So there are two types of people. So first, what happens is there comes the people who say that okay, if that is not good, you should not use. So you will first see that video, and you as a consumer will believe it, and you will say, okay, I was planning to buy an air fryer, but I will not because it has these many problems. Now there will be another post that will defy this entire thing and say that okay, food in boiling oil is more harmful than food cooked using air fryer. So now you will again change your decision saying that okay, maybe that post was fake and maybe I should buy an air fryer after all. So this is general human behavior, consumer behavior. So that is why these posts and these articles are affecting the members as per the trustees. They think so. And they feel that due to these posts and articles, there are a lot of members that they are taking it as advice and requesting to move to the low tier because the request to move to the low tier has been increasing manifold, right? So this is happening. This is the article that is published. We will read that also. So they feel that there is concern that members will consider this as advice and this may have triggered some of the more recent transfers to the low tier. So what is the article saying? That we are in a national economic crisis. Now the latest inflation figure is over 8% and it is expected to reach double figures, more than 9%. So as it reaches 10%, it will be double figures. So we are concerned about personal finances, budgets. So these are the four front topics in the people's mind. We have to cut back on fuel consumption. We have to look for cheaper food. And we will have to spend less to cope with all of this. And we are doing it. All of these measures that we are taking has become routine to cope with the increasing inflation. But there is very little government support that we are receiving and that we are expecting in future. Employers are also not helping because salaries are not keeping pace with inflation. Salary increase rate is less than the inflation increase rate. So, what can you do in this case? There is one solution that you can pay less into your pension. And what is the reason that they are giving behind this particular logic is that if you cannot afford to live today, then there is no point of saving for tomorrow. So if you read this, you will feel, this is correct, maybe, because you are saving and saving for your future. But what if you don't live till that particular age, right? So you will think that, okay, this article is right, they are giving me good advice, so I will save less for my pension now, correct? So this is happening, and they are saying that you should reduce your pension contributions so that you get money for today. Now this is done. After this, pension trustees have discussed this issue with you, and they wish to have a letter to give to all those who request a transfer to the low tier. So they warn that anybody who is requesting to transfer to the low tier from the standard tier will receive a letter from the pension scheme. Okay. What all should the letter include is here. They should have included a example data for a typical member on the financial impact of moving to the low tier. So you have to write a letter, and in that letter, there should be one example for one particular member. So you can assume maybe anything that you want, that okay, this particular member with this particular age in this tier in this fund is in the standard tier, and what will be the impact of moving to the low tier. There are examples given in the scenario material which you can take, right? Choice of which particular data or table to take is again what is required in CP3, your understanding and how you are choosing which data to represent from various numerical tables mentioned to you will set you marks. Okay, this is first point. What factors affect the actual fund at retirement? So, what is going to affect the actual fund at retirement? Any factors that you all can think of? There were economic assumptions, there were fund values, fund types. What do you think will affect the final fund value at retirement? 2, 3 factors, anybody?
Retirement age.
Retirement age. Okay, if you're retiring at age 70, maybe you'll have a higher pension pot because you have 10 years more as compared to a person who retired at age 60, correct? Anything else?
Fund growth.
Sorry?
Growth rate of the fund.
Correct. Growth rate of the fund. There are two types of fund. So there is an assumption that the growth rate will be maybe 7 and 8%, but in actual reality, the growth rate may change, right? Again, charges they are assuming to be fixed. So that is something that will again affect your fund value if it is not fixed, maybe. If it changes, if it increases, then your fund value will reduce. So all of these are the factors that will affect your fund at retirement. Again, which factors to include, what are the most primary, choice of those will depend on your understanding of the scenario material. Third, a discussion of how other additional scheme benefits can be affected. So this we have already discussed. Other scheme benefits are death benefit and health benefit. How will that be affected if you move to low tier? This is the third discussion. Now, information that personalized illustrations can be made available, but the trustees are unable to provide advice. Anybody who can explain me this bullet point? Anybody who can explain me this bullet point?
Ma'am, can you show the paper again?
Yes, this highlighted part.
Take advice from independent financial advisors who can better advise them given their particular scenario, personal scenarios.
Correct. This is the second part that you have explained, which is correct, that you are unable to provide advice, but they can take help or advice from independent advisors. What does this particular first part mean? That personalized illustrations can be made available.
We can give them examples like if they are thinking to switch, then these all the benefits will be removed.
Okay, so that is covered in first bullet point and second bullet point, right? the example and the other benefits affected. So what does this mean? How is it different from the first and third bullet point? Here, if you see, they have given example for a typical member, which means that a member may be of age 40 who has a fund value of this much, salary of this much. What will be that person's fund value on retirement? A personalized illustration which will be personalized to you. So if you want to get a personalized projection of what will be your fund value based on your current age, duration till retirement, your current fund value, your choice of fund, and your choice of year, then I will be able to provide you that. But you have to ask for that personalized illustration. This letter contains a typical example for maybe a standard member, which is not you. If you want that personalized illustration specifically for you, you have to request that from me and I will be able to provide that. But I am in no position to offer you advice as to whether you should switch or not switch to the low tier. Understood? Okay. Last, a reminder that a return to standard tier is possible at any time. Very important that you have to constantly remind them that, okay, if you are in need of money now, maybe you can switch for a number of years, but you can anytime switch back to the standard tier whenever you want to, wherever maybe your financial condition is better, or maybe the inflation reduces in the economy and you do not need that much money anymore. You can switch back to standard tier anytime. Okay. Now, what are the other changes that is happening? Earlier, the transfer used to happen automatically on receipt of request. This will not happen now. What will happen that the member will receive this letter when they request a switch, and then they will receive this letter, they will read it, and then they will need to send an email to the HRD to confirm that, okay, I have received this letter, confirm the receipt of letter, and I have read it. But I still wish to make the change. So I've read all the implications of transferring to the low tier, but I still want to transfer. After this only, the request will be processed. Otherwise, this change will not be implemented. Okay. This you have to also ensure to the members that this change is being done. You have been implementing this change now so that your employees are protected. This is for the benefit of the members only. And this will also reduce any possible reputational risk to the trustees and the employer. You have to very clearly state that without this email, the change will not be implemented. And this should also be made clear to those making the request. So in your letter, you should very clearly state that if you do not reply to the HRD that you have read the email, received the email, and you still wish to make the change, your request will not be processed and you will not be transferred to the low tier. This should be very clear in your letter. They are stating this. So till here it is done. Now the first part simply tells you to draft this letter, which the trustees have requested. Okay, which will be given to any member requesting a transfer to the low tier. This is for 80 marks. So you have to basically write a letter that will be sent as it is to the members whenever they request a transfer. So you have to write a letter. Till here, clear, everybody? The question paper, the scenario material, what you have to write? Yes?
In this, I'm not aware about the person who's requested, but I just have to make a line saying that if you want, I will provide your personalized your fund
Right.
value. So just a
Right.
line has to be included.
Right. So maybe you have to write that whatever example you are giving is for a standard or a typical employee, and whatever example you will include, you have to write the details that, okay, this typical example is for an employee for age maybe 30 who is in balanced fund, and who is what other choices were there, and in the standard tier. Okay. This is for this particular standard employee. If you want, suppose if this letter goes to a person who is of age 50 and who is in low tier, they will want that the projection should involve their circumstances. So you should write that if you want a personalized illustration based on your situation and circumstance, we will be able to provide that on request. Okay, but you have to also specify that you are not providing any advice. You are not in a position to provide any advice. Okay. So whatever they
Yes.
have mentioned in the material that you should clearly highlight, you will get marks for that. So if you lose out on writing that, if you don't send the email, the request will not be processed. This one line you're missing out, you're losing out on marks because they have clearly stated that you have to highlight this point because this is very important for the members to understand. Okay. So understood everything, what you should focus on, what you should write, how you should write the letter. First part is that. Should I expect all of you to write this letter and come in the next class? So you can share your screen. I will read the script and maybe I will tell you what are the good parts that you have picked up, something that you have missed out on, or anything that you're lacking in your paper. Right? Janvi, Devansh, done?
Ma'am, actually, in the class, ma'am has just taught till the aims and everything. So, actual format of the letter, how it should be, is not taught yet.
Okay. So I will just give you a brief. This is just a letter that you have to write. This will be sent as it is to the members as and when they request. So starting format, how do you write a letter? You have to write the date and then there will be a topic and then you have to write the body. That is very familiar. Now you have to break your letter into parts. So I'll just give you an example that whenever you are drafting something, you have an introduction, you have a summary. These are the top and bottom parts in anything that you write. And in the
Correct.
middle comes the body. Now, this body also will be divided into parts. So, just for example, if I take this particular scenario, I'll be helping you to write. So, I'll take another scenario maybe. So, suppose I'm taking a scenario that I am increasing prices of a particular good. Okay. So, what is the impact of that increase in price on maybe the demand and the supply? So, in this scenario, you can divide your body into 3 parts or 4 parts, maybe. So, first will be the reason for increasing the prices, the impact of increasing the prices on demand, and the impact of increasing the prices on supply. You have made 3 subtopics in your body from the question paper, from the scenario material. So similarly, in this also, you have to divide your paper into parts. So I'll just give you an example that maybe one part can be what will be the impact of switching to the low tier. Another subtopic can be what will be the impact of switching back to the standard tier from the low tier. And similarly, you can make more parts, and this should be in a sequential manner. So, out of the 2 subtopics that I just said, what should be first and what should be second? Can you tell me? Switching back to the standard tier should be above, or switching to the low tier should be above?
Switching to the low tier.
Correct. And after that, a situation will come where you can switch back to the low tier. So, this flow you will understand logically only कि पहले क्या आएगा and बाद में क्या आएगा. For this also you get marks. For the format, for the flow, what comes first, what comes next. So if you write the switching back part first and the switching to low tier second, you will lose out on marks because that flow is disrupted, right? So understood?
Got it. And how
Okay.
many pages should it be?
Dekho, there is nothing very stringent or specific. You have to write 10 pages, you have to write 15 pages. There is nothing as such. You get marks based on you have covered everything that is required. Also, you get marks for not including anything that is not required. So, if you include any jargons, if you include any data that is very difficult for a member to understand, so you will lose out on marks because you were not able to understand. This is a communication paper. So, you have to understand that while communicating, what the members will be able to understand and what they will not be able to understand. So, if you are including anything, that me as an examiner thinks that this is very difficult for a member to understand. So you will lose out on marks because you have included that in your paper. So this you have to decide on. There is no stringent word limit or number of pages. You will get marks on the appropriate things that you have chosen to include and exclude from your paper. This decision is very crucial in this paper. What you are choosing to include and exclude, and justification behind it, which we will do in the second part. They will ask you that what you have excluded in your paper and why. So those things will also fetch you marks. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody? Devansh? Okay. Okay. Then thank you for joining. Ending the session here. We will continue next class. Okay. There will be a message in group. Okay. Thank you for joining. Bye.